Hey out there, legal warriors, can you press charges against someone in Washington State for a criminal offense? Can you or can't you? Because all the time we hear people say, I'm going to press charges. What does that mean and what doesn't it mean? And how is that important for you? If you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 25 years. By putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. I'm just going to jump right into it. Every state is different. And, I am guilty myself of watching a lot of YouTube videos, especially from Florida, right? I always say, Florida man, stuff like that. But, it sounds like there's a lot more availability to get information out of Florida. And you always watch those videos and they say, you have those police officers and there'll be something stupid happen and the officer will go up to the alleged victim and go, do you want to press charges? Because if you don't want to press charges, I'm not going to do anything. And so it sort of gives people the idea that it's up to the victims about whether or not a criminal case proceeds. And sometimes the victim gets charged with a crime, but they think they've also been assaulted and they want to press charges back. And I just heard people in my office just last week talking about that, and so I had to go through this explanation. So how does it work in Washington State? In Washington State, police officers are the ones that investigate crimes. Police officers are the ones that put together a police report and send it to the prosecutor for them to press the charge. Or themselves, sometimes they can make a misdemeanor, a non-felony arrest, and press their own charges. Now, they may take into account, whether or not they have a cooperative victim in deciding if they want to pursue a case or not. But in this state, typically speaking, they're not going to go up to the victim and say, do you want to press charges? Because officers in this state have the power to file their own case. In fact, they can make arrests on probable cause. They don't need an arrest warrant or things like that for the most part, depending on how close in time things happen. And so the government, the executive branch of the government, the police, are the ones that investigate the crime, and then they either press charges themselves because they are the aggrieved party, really, because the law has been violated, or they send it to the prosecutor to decide whether or not they're going to press charges. So what's the problem? What's the misnomer that happens here? Well, people tend to think that they just have the right to press charges against someone. And, I might get a phone call and they'll say, hey, Lance, something happened about 10 days ago. And my former best friend, they pushed me outside of a bar and I'm really mad and I want to press charges. So I'm just going to press charges. Can you help me press charges? And I'll be like, no, I really can't help you press charges because you have to get the police interested in the situation for them to do an investigation, pull a case number, right? Create a case number, write a report and either go investigate this crime that you're talking about, this hypothetical push outside a bar 10 days ago, or not. And guess what? Police are pretty busy, right? They probably aren't going to be too interested that someone got shoved 10 days ago outside of a bar and there's no injuries. But yet that person on the phone who wants these charges pressed are really mad, right? I want to do something. I want to press charges. And so there is a very obscure way in our court rules, which I don't recommend you try, to press charges on your own. I've never seen it work in 30 plus years. And so if you're really curious about that, look up the Washington State court rules. So I'm not going to cover that here because this is all about the theory. So what if it's a real extreme situation, Lance? What if it's like some type of SA and you want charges pressed? Well, there it might make more sense based upon how serious the allegation is that an officer might be willing to put down everything and take his or her time to go look up and research some type of SA claim. And could an attorney help with that? Sure. In any hypothetical case, you can imagine an attorney who knows the police or knows a law enforcement agency or is an ex-prosecutor, right, could choose to take the time to rattle some cages and get some pressure on the government, the police department, to do the investigation to press a charge. But it is not up to whether or not someone presses a charge, whether or not the case goes forward. What's an example? Give me an example, Lance. Well, the most common example, which we talk about on this channel, are DV charges, right? DV charges, typically speaking, happens all the time. A couple's having an argument in the parking lot, right? So oftentimes they might be arguing in a language someone doesn't understand, and therefore people are more likely to call the police, right? They're arguing, maybe someone's grabbing a phone, they're pushing or shoving each other. some person walking by in the parking lot calls the police. Police show up. Oh, hey, we say that a witness said that you pushed this man. Let's say the woman here is the one they're looking at. And the man goes, no, I don't want to press charges, right? I don't want anything to happen. I don't want to press charges, so just go away. Well, it's not up to that alleged victim to press the charge. If those police officers believe that a crime occurred and they believe they have some ability to prove it, and maybe it's these lay witnesses that called it in, they don't need your permission or assent, the male victim here, to go forward with the charge. It's not up to them to press charges. Now, I might see in the comments, well, Lance, that's not true. At some point I told the police that I didn't want to press charges, and therefore the case went away. Now remember, it doesn't mean that the officers can't use that in their brain as a way to justify to their superiors or to their supervisors in the police report not going forward with something that they don't think is worth going forward with, right? Not serious enough, too busy. The government and police officers have a lot of discretion. Not in DV cases, they don't. If there's some type of primary aggressor, some type of assault that happened within 4 hours, the law commands they make an arrest and press charges. But if it's a different type of case, let's say that somebody's mailbox gets run into at 2 in the morning, and the Ring camera shows it's little Billy down the street who's 16-year-old did it. And the officer shows up to investigate it because the homeowner needs to make a report for insurance, and then they go, hey, homeowner, do you want to press charges? And the homeowner's like, no, I don't want to be involved in this. Now, they don't need that homeowner's permission to go forward and go after little Billy. They can do it if they want, but maybe the officer sort of doesn't want to go after little Billy, right? Little Billy, might end up in adult court. A 16 and 17-year-old with a traffic matter in Washington State goes to adult court. They don't get juvenile court. And so that officer might think, well, if the homeowner doesn't care, I don't care. I'm just going to write this up as informational for the insurance. Now, let's say that police officer thinks little Billy is a hellion, and little Billy's always getting in trouble, and this homeowner doesn't want to press charges. Doesn't matter, right? That officer can still go hook little Billy for hit and run because they didn't stay and do what they're supposed to do and get another charge in little Billy, even if the homeowner didn't want charges pressed, because it just does not exist in Washington State in the way that you think about it on the TV. So what does this mean for you? It means when you're upset, when you're pissed off that someone has done something to you, if you want the police to investigate it and press charges, you have to present it to them in a way that they want to be interested, right? Sooner in time, maybe more humbly. You don't go up and say, you have to do what I tell you, because they'll just walk away, because they don't, right? They decide where they use their resources. And so many times the reasons why people aren't prosecuted, and when we get called by people and we say you don't need to worry about it, sometimes it's because we just know each department has different resources and different ability to follow up on things, and different culture for following up on things, right? In Seattle, they're going to follow up on way less than they might at Edmonds, where I live, right? In Edmonds, you hear sirens, it's cat in a tree with a nosebleed, right? They're very excited. So if something happens in Seattle, it takes a lot for them to use their man and woman power to deal with all the random property crimes and drug stuff and everything else going on, no matter whether or not someone wants to press charges or not. So let's keep it clear that we don't have the power to force them to do something, but we can influence them, right, to give you a better chance. And if you don't want charges pressed and your loved one or your partner is being, arrested and stuff, well, who do you talk to? You talk to the prosecutor, right? I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to cooperate. I don't want to see this happen. While prosecutors are generally deaf to that when it comes to DV type cases, it will make a difference in how they try to resolve the case if they don't think that they're going to have someone cooperative on their side saying something happened that helps them prove their case. So I hope you found that useful. If so, please like it, please subscribe. More people get to see it. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you got a criminal matter in Washington State, feel free to reach out to my firm. We'll get on board. We'll listen to what happened. We'll find a way forward. And we will be there for you. Thank you.